Here's why, as of right now, I'm choosing ICP instead of Bitcoin, even though nothing I say is financial advice. But here's the thing. As a best case scenario, what is Bitcoin really going to do from here on out, right? I'm not saying 20, 30 years, but I'm saying the next 6 to 10 months. Maybe $300,000. But really, what is a $300,000 really going to do for Bitcoin, especially if I'm holding as of right now? Slightly under 3x from here? Who cares about that, you know? If I'm looking for a 3x, that's a little bit boring for me. I'm not looking for that. Instead, if we take a look at ICP, going to the price of $100, around an 18x from here. Now, is that the best upside of all time? Absolutely not. But in my opinion, it's not bad considering how, first of all, ICP is not a microcap, so I don't want to get into that, right? And at the same time, it's a pretty well-established project with a good community, with amazing fundamentals. I don't see why this is too bad, and especially considering how the market cap is actually pretty big, let's say do an additional, around 18x from here, doesn't seem that bad to me, at least, in my opinion. Bitcoin is not even doing a 10x from where it is as of right now in the next 6 to 10 months. This is just my perspective. But even besides that point, even $100 doesn't seem that insane. Going to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $53 billion. Not too bad, right? We've seen BNB back in 2021 reach over $100 billion in terms of market cap, so I don't think this is too crazy, at least for me. But even besides all that, when I take a look at Bitcoin, I get it. It's more safe to me, at least, when compared to ICP, because if I take a look at Bitcoin, do I think it's going to be around 50 years later? Yeah, I do. Is, a bunch of altcoins as of right now going to be around in the next 50 years? Probably they're just going to stick around, who knows? But in terms of the hype, the attention, and the traction, a lot of them, in my opinion, wouldn't probably be that around in that sense, right? I'm not saying ICP is like that, by the way, because I think the internet computer is actually very revolutionary, but I'm just saying, what is more risky? But I'm just saying, right, what is more risky for me? ICP or Bitcoin? I think hands down, ICP is more risky. Now, there's always going to be risks, and some people may be thinking, okay, why would you say that if you're bullish on ICP? I'm going to say it how it is. I think ICP, for me, is more risky than Bitcoin. Even though I'm not telling anyone to buy ICP or whatever, but in my opinion, I find it more risky, but I don't mind because, again, I'm not looking for a 3x. If I got into Bitcoin years ago, sure. If I had $10 million as of right now, would I put into Bitcoin? Sure. But I don't have $10 million and I didn't get into Bitcoin like 10 years ago, right? So instead of dwelling on the past and trying to imagine things that, really wouldn't make sense because I have to look at the present, what is better for me? I think ICP hands down. And the internet computer, in my opinion, really isn't a bad project, right? Because it's focused on decentralized AI. AI, of course, is a big narrative. Not to mention the internet computer, it's focused on decentralizing the internet. They're also focused on, amazing things. Like, for instance, the internet computer can allegedly connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles. So that's a big deal, right? Because many projects out there, they're really focused on oracles. And the fact that they can connect Web 2 and Web 3 allegedly without oracles, bypassing that process, that's very impressive. Because if we have to take a look at oracles, right? That's very crucial. Like, for instance, they're basically data feeds that bring data from off the chain, aka off-chain data, and they bring that over into the blockchain. The reason why this movement of data, I would like to call it, right, is so crucial is because without this, right, many decentralized applications out there, they can't function properly. So again, having an oracle is very beneficial. But then the internet computer can allegedly bypass that whole process and, again, connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles. So that's very revolutionary. Now, in the grand scheme of things, will this be proven in a massive scale in the next 6 to 10 months? Probably not. Mass adoption takes a very long time, in my opinion, for most cases. But it's a good touch nonetheless, and I do like how they can even bypass that process allegedly. We'll have to see what happens when it gets adopted on a massive scale, but I'm just saying, that's still very impressive nonetheless. Not to mention, allegedly, for $1 worth of smart contract data, you can get around 44 bytes, on Ethereum, and on the internet computer, you can get over 200 million bytes. So in terms of cost savings right there, the internet computer is actually very impressive. When I take a look at the internet computer, I get it, right? Is it the most cool or interesting project out there of all time? Nah, I don't think so. But then, not every single project that's going to do well only has to either be AI, blockchain gaming, or something like a meme coin, right? that isn't necessarily always going to be the case. Sometimes you want to look for other projects, and I feel like ICP is a no-brainer for me. For the people out there that say, oh, there's too many competitors and all this. Okay, there is more competitors because there's so many launch pads. People can easily just launch, random projects, it feels like, right? But then most of these, it feels like, are really bad meme coins, to me at least, which I've seen. And not to mention, I feel like even out of the good ones, not many will survive, in a sense that not many are ever really going to get listed at any sort of major exchange. A lot of them never really gain any sort of traction. So do we have more competitors as of right now? Absolutely. But is there like a drastic increase in good competition? Not really, right? Because I haven't seen kind of like a new project that I kind of felt like was way better than the Internet Computer. I haven't really seen that yet. So yes, there's more competitors. Yes, there's more meme coins, but a lot of them are not really that viable. So I think the Internet Computer really is such a no-brainer for me. But again, the market is going to wake up when it wants to wake up, because right now it's Bitcoin's time, but eventually, historically, we've seen that there's going to be a time for altcoins too. Altcoins in most cases are not forgotten about, you know what I mean? But it's just a waiting game, because usually altcoins, historically speaking, as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last one, right? Or should I say the last Bitcoin halving event, actually, it happened in April of last year. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. Now, is this a guarantee? Nah, I don't think so, because there's no way to tell the future, right? Even if we take a look at historical data, it doesn't guarantee future occurrences, I would say. But the way you take a look at it is that I just don't see why not, because if, let's say, the space does keep continuing to do a lot better, if we see very good recovery when it comes to altcoins, even better than what we're seeing as of right now, because things are kind of stagnating. But even besides that point, also, not to mention, if there's an increase in crypto owners, which could not be out of their own possibility, actually, because we even have over 600 million currently, according to Crypto.com research, which already in and of itself is more than ever before in history. But just think about how, if, let's say, Bitcoin does a lot better and it goes to like 150,000, 200,000, let's say 250 or even 300,000, would the amount of crypto owners, logically speaking, stay at around over 600 million, or could there be a lot more, like maybe 700, 800 million? That wouldn't surprise me, right? And I think if we see that type of action, allegedly, I think some could maybe flow into ICP. But even besides that, it's just a waiting game. But I would still much rather prefer ICP instead of Bitcoin, and $100 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run. I'm very bullish on the Internet Computer. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.